All right, we're back. It's 2016, healthy, inspiring, positive living time. That's hip living. We're going to be getting into some things, this segment of hip living. We're going to be talking about health and wellness, of course, but we're also going to do a little bit talking about motivation, inspiration, here on Hip Living. All right, everyone, it's Friday, 6 p.m., March the 24th, Richmond, Virginia, live here at Comcast Studio, and this is Hip Living. And if you caught me around July 2015, Hip Living is all about healthy, inspiring, positive living. And during those segments around July, I focused a whole lot on health and wellness, the body, working out, staying fit, staying well, touched on some nutrition. But I decided to do something just a little bit different. But don't get me wrong, we're still going to be focusing on the mind, body, and soul. We're going to definitely be focusing more on the mind, body, and soul. And to really kick off things this year, dealing with some inspiration and positive living, I have a special guest. You probably know him as a famous guy. You didn't think I knew him, did you? Talking about Mr. Russell Simmons. That's right. I'm not lying. Check him out. I got Russell Simmons up here, Richmond, Virginia. Now y'all know I'm lying. Some of y'all might know this gentleman right here, this brother. He is the one and only Mr. Dwayne Bennette. Welcome, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here.
And as I said, and for you out there in the viewing audience, I wanted to emphasize definitely some inspiration and some positive living. Because the body, yes, we want to keep the body in shape. We want to stay in shape. We also want to keep the mind right. And in order to get there, it's good to have people that can empower you, that can inspire you and motivate you. And we're all familiar with that. Those individuals, we call them mentors. So the gentleman that I have on today's program, he's an expert. He's very passionate. That's his purpose. That's his calling, to do mentorship. But he also does motivational speaking. So we're going to touch on that in the second break, in the second half of the show. But we're going to get right to it, and we're going to talk about that most important thing called mentoring. So without any further ado, here's Mr. Dwayne Bennette to talk about his company and what he does in the way of mentoring. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now as far as your company.
Okay, my company is called Yes to Success, and I have two divisions. I have one division, the youth division, that focuses on our mentoring and helping youth in our community service. Right. I have the other division that focuses on motivational speaking, coaching, and training. And in terms of the mentor area, I go around the state of Virginia and I train individuals, college students, high school students, adults, corporate America on the best practices in mentorship. So that's one of my specialties. And I do this with the #1 nonprofit organization in the state of Virginia called the Virginia Mentoring Partnership. So I do most of my mentoring through that, and I also do some other youth stuff directly through my company.
Okay, so what I'm getting is that you basically cover the gamut of mentoring. You're not only focusing on the young, but the not so young.
Right.
And what's entailed in part of that is training people to mentor. And I want to get in that a little bit real quick because I know even for myself and a lot of us who want to do mentoring.
Right.
We have all the best intentions.
Right.
But like in anything, it's good to be trained in it.
Right.
To get some training.
That's
You
right.
know, you're getting into something, like I said, you got all the best intentions, but it's good to have somebody to teach you. You want to touch on that a little bit, to train just a little bit?
Yeah, and this is the key. You can be a mentor from adult to adult. Okay. A lot of times they will call that from a mentor to a protege.
Okay.
But then when we're talking about usually from adult to a young person,
okay.
then we're talking about a mentor to a mentee. The principles are the same, but in terms of delivery method okay. of the content, okay. then we'll deal with our youth and the youth mind and those principles.
Okay.
And then we're working with adults or adult learners. That's a total different way to train.
Okay.
So in terms of our youth, then when we're working with our youth training, usually have an adult. You want to train that adult on the best practices of mentorship and working with young people. Right. So then one of the biggest segments in there, how do we communicate with young people? How do we work with young people? What's the issues concerning young people? Okay. And then really give a kind of background as to the whole mentorship area.
Okay. Now, usually, what are some of the things that you look for in a mentor, particularly when you talk about mentoring young people? Is there a particular type? Like, for example, if you're trying to pair people together, mm-hmm. like I said, okay, you might have someone here, you understand what I'm saying? It's like a partnership, it's like That's a right. relationship. Mm-hmm. Take us a little bit into that process of when you're trying to pair somebody, particularly when young people, because you got to be sensitive when it comes to the young people.
Right. And the thing with that is, that area of mentoring is called matching. Okay. You call mentor matching. Okay. And what are you trying to do is you're trying to find the best person or the best adult out of a pool of adults that are matched well out of this pool of young people. Okay. So what usually happens is you have an organization and they bring in mentors. So we'll say for instance it's an all male organization. Okay. So our suggested best practice is if you have an all male organization to match all males with all young men.
Okay.
So that'll be the first way we match. We're matching male to male. We're matching by gender.
Okay.
Then we may look at the characteristics of the young man and say, hey, this young man has an interest, we'll say, in sports. Okay. He wants to go to college. And he also wants to say he wants to just do better in school.
I got you.
So then we'll look at the characteristics of the male. Let's say which one of these older gentlemen is good in college, has went to high school, has graduated from college. Okay. Which one also know a little bit about sports, and what young gentleman has a time to spend the time that he needs with this particular young man. Okay. So we try to do a match based on some of those things. Okay. But the other thing is it also could be based on personality. You may have a loquacious young man, and you really want to have a loquacious older man, so they can be talkative, you can understand the process, you can work with them, so they can be based on personality. It could be based on ethnicity. If we're looking at ethnicity, we may look at Italian American to Italian American, or African American to African American. That's just one of the criteria. So we try to look at what's the major characteristics that are inherent to the older gentleman or the older person, and what's the inherent characteristics of the younger person, and then we try to match those together. It's called mentor matching.
Okay. So I noticed one time when I was doing some research into mentoring, they have this thing where you can either do groups mm-hmm. or you can do one-on-ones. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so how do you set that up?
Well, it depends on the population.
Okay.
You mentioned, usually when people talk about mentoring, what they're looking at is the one-on-one mentoring model. Right. That's one person, one older adult to one younger adult. Okay. We have that model. Okay. Then we talk about the group mentoring. Right. In those situations, you may have an organization that wants to mentor our young people, but say you have 15 young people and only 3 adults. Right. So that'll be group mentoring. So probably one adult may have 5 young people. Okay. And then we're really doing some cutting edge things now in terms of e-learning. We can have an older person that's on. You can get them on Skype with a younger person on Skype, mm-hmm. and you can spend some time with them that way. Okay. So it's different models of mentoring based on the organizations, based on the needs, and based on the number. Right. So you're 100% on point in terms of there's different ways to look at mentoring. Right. Yeah, and it's such a big demand for that. Yeah. I mean, it really is. And when you get out there and you think about it, even when you look within your family sometimes, and you realize, even parents. That's right. Because I know how important it is when we talk about fatherhood. Right. No doubt about that. Don't minimize the importance of having a father in the household. But what I'm noticing even with that, is that safety net. Yeah. Having that extra
mentor, that support system there.
Yeah.
Do you run into that sometimes? Maybe, you know, you got, even if it's a 2-parent household, they're saying, you know, my son or my daughter, can you?
This is the thing, and it's counterintuitive.
Okay.
Sometimes people will think that when you bring a mentor into a family relationship, that's going to hurt the family structure because they think, okay, you're taking away some duties or some wisdom from the father or the mother.
Right.
But what the statistics bear out is this. A young person that has a mentor, even within the family, it strengthens the family relationships, because what happens is the mentor is teaching the mentor communication.
Okay.
They're teaching the mentor some skills that the family may not have.
Right.
How to handle finances,
Right.
how to handle conflict.
Right.
So then the mentee takes that information back home and he shares it with the adult. He may share it with his mother. He may share it with his father, and then strengthens the family bond. So the thing in terms of who needs a mentor, everyone could use the services of a mentor. It's not, and it's this misnomer that young people that have mentors, they have some problems, they have challenges. That's not the case. You could have a high-performing, a high-striving young person, we'll just use grades, a 10th grader that's making all B's. Well, there's room for success to go to A's, and his mentor can come in there and help him take him to the next level. Okay. So I'm glad you asked that question, so we can kind of dispel that myth, is that mentors are only for young people. Right. And if I can take an opportunity just to really kind of give an overall definition, if you will, a view of mentoring. Right. And mentoring is this: it's the structured and trusting a relationship that brings together an older person to a younger person who encourages and supports that young person. Here we go, to bring out the competence and the character of the mentee. Right. So you got a older person. They're caring. Right. They're there to support. Right. They're there to encourage, and they're there to guide. Right. What I call and go to the 2 C's, the competence, and the competence could be things in the area of school, you know, math, reading, those competencies, and the character, and we know the character, good citizenship, integrity, doing the right things, making right choices. So when you look at the definition, it doesn't have anything to do with any station, any color, whether the person is doing good or not good, whether or not they have a family, a mother or father in the home. It's just the concept of guiding, encouraging, taking this person to the next level.
Because really, what I'm thinking about too is this whole thing, you know, people talk about the village. Yeah. And the whole sense of community. That's right. You follow me? Because you got to have that support system there. And I guess that's one of the benefits of what you said, mentor. Yes. You understand? Because that sense of community. You got a family and everything, mother, father, whatever, it's regardless of the characteristics of the family, you have that sense of community there. Right. You know, you have that support system. And sometimes not only that, I think it's a case, and we've experienced this in our own life coming up. You're not always as close to your parents as your parents would like you to be. Even if they say to you, you can tell me anything. Yeah, because look, you don't think your parents got any sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, let's be real. You say that, they tell you that, and even I catch myself. Yeah, you say that, but you know it's how you gonna react to it. Yeah, you know, because a loving parent and your kids love you, they don't want to disappoint you. They don't want to, you know, like you judging them. Right. Even though in a way you're not, but you dad. Right. So with the mentor. Sometimes it's that thing where they can kind of open up a little more, you know, like with our coaches or whatever. Exactly. You know, and so I guess that's part of the point that I was trying to make, you know, with the mentorship and everything. I want to go somewhere else a little bit with this mentorship thing too, because we want to keep it 100. Right. We're having some issues with the criminal justice system. Right. We got juvenile justice. Right. How does that fit into it? Because I was thinking about something when you talk about a mentor. Right. And somebody, let's face it, they got a felon. You know, they got some charges. But you got a child, you got a kid. You got somebody, they really need somebody that can really get in there and really like, look, you follow me? Yeah. You got all of this over here, that's all good, but this is somebody that can really, how does that work when you're dealing with someone who may be an ex-felon or someone who's lived a lifestyle or so on, but they got that, how does that work? It
works like this. First of all, I advocate for anyone before you become a mentor to have training. Okay. Because training is going to teach you the best practices of working with this young person. Right. Mentoring is more of a science then it's an art. And when I say that, is most of the time, people have this view of mentoring is I can just grab the young person, take him around with me, and then he's going to become a better person. Okay. That's not true.
Right.
My pastor always say some things are caught and some things are taught. They're going to catch some things, but in this society that we're in, because there's so many things going on, you have to be specific and intentional about working with that young person. Now, so if training is the number one thing I would advocate before you mentor, then again, we're not talking about any type of individual. But in this situation, if we're talking about an individual that may, and we don't always just say felons, but may have a colored background, if you will, how can they work with a young person? First of all, I say they can work with a young person. All right. But this is what I found. Without the training, what happens is that person that may have a colored background for whatever reason, it could be criminality, it could be sexuality, it could be drugs, those type of things. I have to caution them from going into the explicit details of what happened to them, even though they are bringing that back as a lesson, to focus on the lesson more so the details of the lesson. Because what happens is our young people, because of the dramatic effect that it will have in the details, they're going to focus on that and not focus on the lesson. So what I will have them to do is, hey, explain to them the lesson more so than it is the details, and how even though I was able to overcome adversity, even though I was able to come back from this, I'm telling you this to stir you away from that path, because you don't have to go down that path that I went through.
Right, okay.
Now, real quick, for the people out there in the viewing audience, if you got any questions or any comments, or you want to call, the number is on the screen and you can call in. And we're talking about mentorship. This is HIP living, healthy, inspiring, positive living. I talk a whole lot about health and wellness, but I decided to emphasize on this program dealing with the inspirational and positive part. And I have my guest here today. He is Mr. Dwayne Bennette, and right now we're talking about mentorship. So feel free to call in. Yeah, but like you said, that's a good point, because like I said, you got a variety of people out there, and I said this earlier, they got all the best intentions, but you rehash that part, you still have to have the training and everything to do it. Right now, in the Richmond area, demographically speaking, because a lot of people think about the cities, I mean, what areas do you see where you find the most demand as far as mentoring?
Well, the most demand is in the, of course, the inner city.
Okay.
If you're talking about, and I'm going to break it down by gender.
Okay.
Young black males need more mentors than anyone now, based on what's going on in society, and just based on the statistics, falling behind in school, and maybe not in falling behind in school, not making good choices, not working well with authority, and a mentor can come in and help them in these particular areas. So I'm saying in terms of demographics, I would say in terms of who needs mentors more, I would say boys in general, and then our young African American boys, and then girls also, but maybe not as much in different areas. Right. And then if you expand out to certain pockets within the counties and certain areas, then there's a need. But this is the thing, we've identified in the state of Virginia, there's 180,000 young people in general that's looking for mentors. Right. So it's all over the state of Virginia, but locally, that's why I would kind of focus my emphasis if I had an opportunity.
Oh, okay. It's like you said, because you think about the inner city, you talk about underserved areas, and you talking about resources. Right. And things like that. And I know, for example, I had a discussion with someone that's doing something right now, and they're trying to work something into the city right now. And the city does have a unique characteristic. Right. When you talk about resources, you talk about the state of our public schools and everything, after school programs and those types of things. It's not like it used to be with recreation and parks and so on. Sure. Everything. I brought that up because I want to mention the public school systems. Is there anything you have going on right now dealing with the public school systems?
This is the thing. There's various mentoring programs within the school system, and some of those are facilitated directly out of the school systems, and then there's some organizations that go into the school system. So it goes both ways. Organization, nonprofits outside of the school system taking individuals in the school system to mentor some of the young people within the school system, and then the school system have programs that say, hey, we're individuals that teachers, we're administrators that we also want to be mentors outside of the school system. So it works both ways. Okay. Can I take a minute and talk about resources? Yeah, talk about it. If you want to, this is what I advocate. If you want to help a young person fast as you can, quick as you can, what we should do is we should try to gather our resources and work together within the structure of the organizations that's already there. A lot of people, they always want to start their own organization, but what we found is there's more demand of mentees than there are mentors. So if we can put our resources together and work within the structure, the infrastructure, the organizations that's already there, then that's going to get us up and running the fastest if you have an interest of being a mentor or want to work with young men or work with young women.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you said, because starting up an organization sometimes, that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot.
Yeah. Some people's eyes are bigger than it.
Yeah. Like you said, you got all the best intentions
Yeah.
and everything. You start an organization and you got this vision and this ideal, but it's a lot of work.
Right.
And then you're dealing with resources, making sure you have the resources. And then, like you said, when it gets down to actually getting the people,
right,
mentees, that's a lot of work. That really is a whole lot of work. I mean, you got to, like you said, you got to go with the recruiting.
Right.
Figure out how you're going to get these people here,
right,
and everything. You got a great idea, but you only got a few people. And the young people are hungry for it.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed too. I mean, there are a lot of young people out there. You'd be amazed and surprised. Look at some of the ministries.
Right.
And everything.
Yeah.
And someone I noticed over Southside had a ministry over Southside. And it kind of shocked them. They're over there near Hillside Court, and in the area over there. And it's a Caucasian. Like you said, it can be either way. But it just threw him the number of kids that were showing up to their programs like that. And I mean, and it was teenagers, adolescents.
Yeah.
And so firsthand from being out there, you would be surprised. And that's the whole point I want to make to the people out there. You can be of some help. Don't ever presume that you don't have something to offer.
That's true.
You do. True. The main thing is like you said, being taught. You just bring it to the table, and someone like Dwayne, my man, you know what I'm saying? He can basically, set everything up. And I mean, if you want to get involved with it. Now, if somebody wants to get involved, what would the process, what would you recommend they do? They're saying, like right now, somebody's watching the program. It's like, what, I want to be a mentor, but I don't quite know how they go about it, where to go, what to tap into. What would your suggestion be if someone really wants to be a mentor?
My first suggestion is this. Make sure you set aside at least a 1 hour commitment a week in your schedule to be there, to be available for your young person. Okay. And this is what happens. The statistics say this. If you can spend 1 hour a week, one focused, concentrated hour a week on that young person, you can make a difference in their life, and their communication skills will go up, their people skills will go up, their grades will go up, their behaviors will go down. Okay. So first of all, decide within yourself or figure out in yourself whether or not you can commit that a minimum of 1 hour a week. Okay. Once you do that, then the second thing is within yourself is decide, hey, I'm going to keep this commitment. Right. I'm going to keep this commitment of 1 hour a week. Then once you do that, then what I would do is to contact an organization.
Okay, this is Hip Living.
That's it?
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to give you guys a kudos for putting this information out there. It is very important to become mentors to our young people. My daughter plays AAU, and what we do is we instill Bible study lessons during the practice. So for like 10, 15 minutes of the practice, sometimes they will have Bible study, but we call it object lessons, where we take different lessons from the Bible, but, we have objects so that the kids can get a better understanding of it. Instead of just reading it to them and telling them, they actually can do hands-on activity. So, kudos to you guys, and I think it's really important to mentor our young people, but like for us, our way of doing it is during our basketball practice.
That's I like that. That's great, because you have to be creative, and as they say, you have to sort of like someone once said, you have to think outside the box. And by the way, my host is also in the ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you think about what you was just saying a second ago?
Well, from my standpoint, any organization can be of a help. Yes. So if you're talking about faith-based organization, we're talking about churches. They're a fertile ground to first of all bring out mentors because the belief is, you know, you have, you know, those people that's involved in faith-based organizations should have good hearts and want to care for people, want to help people. So there's a good place for that, so we can bring mentors outside of. And this is what I like to look. You know, we got to come outside of the doors of the church. We can't always, you know, do things internally, but come outside of the doors of the church and go into the communities to do that. So mentoring is really an avenue that can help you do that. So I'm 100% in favor of ministries taking on mentor programs.
Okay. Well, thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yes, because that, and which brings us to another area.
Okay.
We talk about ministry.
Right.
Because you was talking about taking it outside the church. Where do you see right now the state of the church right now when it comes to mentoring? Right now, I mean, from your perspective, you're working in the church. You can mention the name of the church you work with, and this is going to bring me to a segue of something else we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Because I had a great experience
Okay.
coming to your church with an event you had, and that's kind of a segue until
Okay.
we get ready to go, because I just wanted to kind of get your take on it right now, the state of the church when it comes to mentoring, from where you stand.
Well, what I found, and I found that most churches have mentor programs.
Okay.
So in terms of the state is, their faith-based organizations, our churches are leading the way in this particular area.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why is because you already have a group of mentors. Okay. You have people that come there on a consistent basis. Sometimes you already have mentees within the church. And then you also have the resources to go outside of the church walls. So when I'm going around, probably, if I had to do a number, if I break it down and I think about it, probably a third of the organizations are faith-based for churches that do mentoring. So I think that churches, faith-based organizations are really stepping up in this area, and I think they're primed to do that.
Okay. Which brings me to an event you had.
Right.
And I'm hoping you're going to have that again.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Talk about the event you had. This was last year. I don't remember the exact date. But you can tell the people about this event you had. It was 1,000.
Yeah, it was the 1,000 Young Men Success Conference. I'm the founder and the coordinator of the 1,000 Young Men Success Conference. And the mission of the 1,000 Young Men Success Conference was to bring together 1,000 young men and teach them and train them on the principles of dealing with authority, making good choices, and educational success. Because we feel if we get our young men to, first of all, start out by making good choices, then we can keep them away from some of the bad things that happen to them in life. Right. If we can teach young men, and this is just young men, this is just inherent to men. Right. And young men sometimes, you know, challenges of dealing with authority. Right. And authority could be their parents, authority could be policemen, authority could be their school teachers. So help them to deal with authority. And what I'm 100% advocate of, education. Because education is a way to get you from where you are to where you want to be, outside of sports, outside of entertainment, outside of some illegal activity. Education is a way to do that. So I feel like if we can work our young men to, hey, stay on track with educational success, work with adults like you should, and make good choices, then we can have a well-rounded young man, and we can take him throughout school, throughout life, to a higher level. So that's what the purpose of the 1,000 Young Men Success Conference was. Right. And we had it hosted at my home church, Mount Gilead Full Gospel International Ministries. We had 70 men that were there. And this was a powerful part of the conference too, was to present images to our young men outside again. And I'm not down in sports, I'm not down in entertainment, but their focus is too much on that. Right. So I wanted to present images of men doing things in other areas. And one of the most powerful parts of the program was that we had men come in their uniform. So we had doctors there in their doctor's coats. We had dental hygienists there in their dental coats. We had policemen there. We had firemen there. We had army men there. We had nurses there. We had entrepreneurs there. We had you there. We had all of these men, about 70 men, representing at least 40 or 50 different occupations, to give a vision of what you can be, other than some of the things that you may think that you can be, and then to let you know this is real. This is an occupation. You can aspire to this. You can be to this. And this is the key with the mentoring. Let us help you along the way, and we can take you there.
What I wanted to do was to compliment you on the event.
Thank you.
Because the thing about it, when you're putting on an event like this and you're dealing with young people, it didn't come off like a lecture type of thing.
I'm glad.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you sitting there and everything, and people get upset when young people, pay attention or whatever. But what you did was very interactive. Mm-hmm. It was very interactive and everything.
Good.
Which meant that for one thing, I liked you had that skit.
Yeah.
You had someone up there did the skit. The guy was talking about his gift where he cut hair.
Yeah.
Then he got caught up, listening to that voice and everything. And I always say it's like, you got a dream.
Right.
You got a dream to pursue your greatness, but then you got this other thing, and I always call it pursuing success. Yeah. And they're not necessarily one and the same. I know I get deep here.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you could be successful in anything.
Yeah, exactly. We all
end up in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But this guy was talking about something that was a gift.
Right.
And I really liked that.
Yeah.
And he went through it and went through it and went through it. Then he got into some other things and a tragedy happened, but he came back.
Right.
And that's what I enjoyed about what you did, because it was very interactive. It got the young people involved, and like you said, when it came to the education and everything, because I think a lot of times too, and this is what mentors are good at, like you said, with the athletics and pursuing all the success and being on television and everything, is having that plan B.
Yeah.
Because I can give you an example, something real quick. Well, I knew someone, for example, goes back to show you probably know this person. Well, they wanted to be in the NBA.
Right.
They wanted to be a professional, basketball player, right? They pursued that, right? They had some issues, educationally and everything, but it didn't stop them from pursuing their dream.
That's right.
That was the whole thing about it. But somewhere in it, they had a plan B, because they also like clothes, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, one thing led to another, and they end up working for an airline and things like that, still liking their clothes. The thing about it with that plan B was he continued to do the clothes and everything. Even though he didn't make the NBA and everything, didn't make basketball, but here's the thing, he's still in the NBA. And I'm going to tell you how he's in the NBA. Yeah. He makes clothes so well, he's so passionate about it. He's flying the airline. He was making clothes for some of the agents.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. He's making clothes for the agents.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You get where I'm going?
Yeah. We used to live in the same city.
Yeah. See, that's my point.
Yeah.
And you kind of did that with that event. And that's what a lot of young people need to understand. That's why I tell a lot of young people, you made a good point. I say, keep that dream.
That's right.
Because either way you look at it, keep that dream.
That's right.
You can still be in the NBA. It ain't all about being, you follow? Because if you're passionate about it, or the NFL, there's another gentleman right now he's an agent, and we know him.
That's right.
His last name Martin. Follow me? Played football and everything.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. But I just wanted to mention that, though, because when we talk about mentoring, that's basically what you have to do. You got to get into that mind, and at the end of the day, all you telling them, look, keep that dream.
Yeah, and can I take a second to talk about?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we're talking about sports, our young people always look at the avenue of playing sports when it comes to making money. Right. But let me tell you this. When I was on my honeymoon, I went to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Okay. And in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, they have a place they call the Little Venus of the United States. Right. And they have a tour what they call Go Down Millionaires Row. Right. Now, I'm shortening the story, but we took the tour down Millionaires Row, which would mean we was in a boat going down the channel, going out to the ocean, and on both sides of the channel were houses. Okay. It was no house in there under $10 million. Wow. Now, when we got to, here we go, the sports piece. When we got to David Stern's house, David Stern, NBA commissioner. Okay, wow. His house was $32 million. $32 million now. He's not the basketball player. He's the commissioner. So I tell young people, you don't always have to be the basketball player or the football player. You can stay into sports by looking at executive positions, looking at some auxiliary positions, looking at some other things. There's a lot of opportunities. But this is key. It's more opportunities in executive and management than it is in the playing positions. There you go. There's only 11 positions on the NBA team. Is that correct, right? There you go. You're right. But it's more than probably 100 people that work for that NBA franchise. There you go. So you can go another route and staying with that. So I'm glad you brought that point out. It's not negative about sports. Right. Having a plan B. That's it. But there's other areas, if you have a love for industry or area, you can do some things in that. There you go. There you go. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into the second half. You can go on, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. We got only a few minutes because I want to get into the motivational speaking part. We're going to talk a little bit about a motivational speaker and the organization that you're working with right now. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and
In this break, we're going to talk a little bit about some tips on, it's the springtime and allergy and some other things. So we're going to be back coming into the second half of Hip Living, healthy, inspiring, positive living.
Well, hey everybody, look, it's springtime again, and as to be expected, it's that time of the year you want to get outside, exercise, working out, been inside all winter, and now it's springtime, you want to get out there and do that walk, or you maybe just want to go out and do some yard work. Well, it's also allergy season, seasonal allergy season, and you know what? I'm like many of you out there. This time of the year, on one hand, I look forward to being outside, enjoying the outdoors, doing some running and doing some yard work. But on the other hand, as we get further into the springtime, it's the pollen, it's the sneezing, the coughing, the hackiness, and all that other nasty stuff. But I can tell you, over the few years, I've actually gotten better. And as you can see on the table, I'm going to point out to you, these are the reasons why. I don't rely on medicines like talking about. In fact, very rarely do I take any type of prescription or over-the-counter drugs for my allergies. And this is the reason why. And I'm going to point out to you how these particular items can work to help offset the symptoms of your seasonal allergies. Start out first with making sure you stay hydrated and drink plenty of water. Religiously, I live by this: purified water, spring water, filter your own water. Enough said with that. But let's get right to it when it comes to what you can do medicinally and naturally to help offset the symptoms and basically minimize the effects of your seasonal allergies. Let's start out with this item first. Now, this is a form of a nasal rinse. I'm putting it up in front of the camera. I hope you can see that. And what is referred to as a neti pot. Now, I actually came across this about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Someone posted this on my Facebook page, and I looked it up on YouTube. And basically what this is a nasal rinse. And what it does, what you do is you use distilled water, you use some spring water, along with, there's a saline solution inside of here if I can reach it. But you can purchase this at Walmart, and the items are in there. There's a saline solution. You use distilled water, lukewarm, not hot, but lukewarm distilled water. You use this first thing in the morning. It's a nasal rinse. It rinses your nasal passages out to get some of that phlegm and mucus out. And it definitely works, and it's very effective. You can use this based on instructions 1, 2, or maybe 3 times a day. Okay? So there's other forms of nasal rinse on here as well. Okay, so the neti pot, that's the first thing. Now let's go to the next item. One of my favorite herbs, echinacea. Now echinacea is basically good for the immune system, period. But particularly when it comes to allergies, colds, during cold season I like to use it. Throughout the year, to tell the truth, I like to use this because it's good for the immune system, but it's also very effective when it comes to offsetting the symptoms of your allergy. Now, this is the pill form, but you can also take it in the tea form. So as you can see, and you can purchase these items at some of your convenience stores, Walmart, or you can go to your grocery stores and they have them. Also, in addition to that, because I know sometimes one of the side effects of your allergies is also you have a sore and a scratchy throat. And this is where this comes in. Also natural throat coating, and it has a special elm plant and bark in it. And what I like about this right here is when you let this saturate in the boiling water for a period of time, it has a very nice, natural, sweet taste to it. Throat coat. And you can purchase this also. You can get this from either a health food store, and they also have these in some of the major grocery stores as well. So, hey, simply put, those are 3 items. And I want to highly recommend also when you purchase these items, make sure you read the ingredients. I don't just like to tell somebody to purchase something and they don't read the ingredients, because you have some off-the-wall brands, even though it says echinacea. Don't go for the cheap. I know you want to be reasonable when it comes to your money, but best bet, in my opinion, is to go to the health food store where you can get some expert advice when it comes to taking herbs. So with that being said, that is your hip tip. Hey, take care. Have a beautiful spring. Until then, see you later.
All right, we're back, and that's the hip tip for the week, talking about allergies this springtime. You having issues with your allergies or anything?
Thank God I don't.
Yeah, you ain't got to worry about that. That don't apply to you then. Yeah, but this is Hip Living, and the program is mostly usually about healthy, inspiring, positive living, health and wellness. This particular program, we're dealing with more of the mind, the inspirational and positive part, and I have a guest here today. He's Mr. Dwayne Bennette. And the first half of the program, we were more or less talking about mentorship. And we're going to wind that down a little bit because I also want to mention 2 books you have.
Okay.
You have 2 books. The one book is called The 7 Winning Ways to College Success.
Right.
And talk a little bit about that book real briefly and what this book is all about.
The 7 Winning Ways to College Success is a book I wrote for high school students and college students so they can have a straight path on their educational success. And I broke it down into 7 steps that any young person that reads this book, as they go through the 7 steps and they answer the questions at the end of the chapters, they have their own individual path to success, so they can stay in school, so they can plan for their own success, so they can graduate on time. And that was the emphasis of me writing the 7 Winning Ways to College Success from high school to college graduate.
Okay, yeah, because, going to college can be kind of a challenge, like you said. Financially, that's the big one.
Right.
But also trying to make up your mind, what direction you want to go as far as, going to college and everything. So it's good to have a book like this.
Yes.
That a young person can get, and they can read this book, like you said, 7 Winning Ways to College Success. That's great. Mm-hmm. And you have another book, From Worry to Winning. Now, what's this book all about?
From Worry to Winning. This is a book is for our adults, and sometimes as adults, we're in our careers and our personal life, we get stuck. And when we get stuck, we're not exactly sure what's the next step, or how can we move, or how can we advance in our careers, or how can we do certain things. So I wrote this book, again, to have a certain pathway that if you walk these 7 steps out in your life, then that'll get you from where you are to where you want to be. So it's called From Worry to Winning, because a lot of times when we're not sure as to where we want to go or what we want to do, we get worried.
Okay.
So I'm going to take you from being worried, alleviate the worry, and move you to winning, so we can all be winners in our life.
Okay, which brings me to this one. We get ready to wind down. We want to jump right into it because
Okay.
what you've been doing some motivating. Okay?
Right.
So we're going to talk about the motivating part, because we all need some motivation. We need some
Right.
inspiration. We need somebody. I don't care how old or how young you are. Like you said, older people. Mentorship is not just for young people.
That's right. Exactly.
We all need a mentor. We all need a peer mentor. We all need somebody to motivate us.
Right.
Okay. So, which takes me segue to the motivational speaking part. Now, let's talk about the organization who you're working with right now when it comes to motivational speaking, which you do.
Okay. I have my own company, as I said earlier. It's Yes to Success, and I have one division, is Youth Division. We've been talking about that, and now we're getting ready to talk about the corporate division, or our training division, called Yes to Success Training and Consulting Solutions. And what we do with that company is there's a big gap in the world. There's a gap between knowing and doing. There's a gap between potential and success, and there's a gap from where you are to where you want to be. Our company comes in, specifically me, and help you find your way from, again, potential to success, from where you are to where you need to be, or perhaps help you fill that gap from knowing to doing. So we do that through coaching, we do that through training, and we do that through speaking.
Okay, through the speaking part. I want to talk a little bit about the speaking part.
Okay.
Okay. How does that work as far as getting people? I mean, do you coach people as far as speaking is concerned and everything? And what are the type of people that you professional people of all walks of life? What are usually the characteristics of the people that you coach?
Everyone.
Okay, I got you.
This is the key, and the reason why I love this show, and the reason why I'm part of this show today is you approach it from the 3 aspects.
Okay.
Mind, body, and spirit.
There you go.
Okay. So the body part, of course, looking at us too, you got the body part.
Right.
And the spirit, people have to deal with their spirit in a way that works for them.
Right.
But in terms of the mind, then the mind is where I come in and help people to kind of move from where they are to where they need to be.
Okay.
And we do these in 3 ways. You mentioned coaching. Coaching, sometimes people use the terminology coaching and mentoring synonymously.
Okay.
But they're really two different things.
Okay.
When you look at mentoring, a person is teaching you or training them from their experience. I've been here, this is how you get here.
Okay.
But from coaching is, my belief is, the answers are always inside the person to help them to move, to help them to progress, to help them to be inspired. And I work with people that bring that out of them so they can find their own path. So the difference between the coaching and the mentoring is the mentoring, I'm telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that to get here. But from the coaching, we're trying to get to a higher level, a bigger image of yourself. And I believe you have those answers within you. And I help you bring those out, and I help you work out a path for that.
Right. So what you're really doing also is you're cultivating and developing leaders as well. Because a person may be in a leadership position. You know, it may be ministry, it may be a nonprofit organization,
Right.
it may be a business person.
Right.
You know, and when you're talking about speaking, it's good to have that training.
Yeah.
You know, it's good if you're trying to market stuff, and I even try to work on that myself when you're
Good.
trying to market things, you know, knowing what to say,
Yeah.
using the right wording, you know,
Exactly.
body language and all of that stuff, and that takes practice. So I guess
right.
that's the good thing about what you do is you get in that environment and you pick up on things.
Yes.
You're picking up on, like you say, the language, how to talk to people. Because a lot of times when you're doing business and you're doing leadership stuff, people are really looking at you.
Right.
And that's something that I learned a lot. I mean, you can have the best product in the world.
Right.
And then somebody else might have a shabby product or something. It ain't all that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, it's the individual.
Right.
It's just something about them, their charisma, their way, you know. And some people seem like they got it naturally, but you'd be surprised when they get that coaching and that training.
Yeah. And speaking, and what you're alluding to is speaking is a teachable skill. I was gifted in some areas of speaking, but I'm always working on my craft
Right. There you
to
go.
get better.
That's
so
right.
I just don't,
That's
you know,
right.
just you know, and people pay me for that.
Right.
So you know, if you're gonna be
Yeah.
paid,
Yeah.
you gotta
Paid,
do a
right.
good job. So I have
Right.
to constantly work on my craft and get better, and
Right.
so that I can also
Okay.
go to different levels within
Right.
my speaking, go to different levels in organizations,
Right.
and help organizations the best. And one of the things that you mentioned in terms of leadership, that's one of my areas of specialty. And I use a lot of content from the #1 leadership expert in the world called John Maxwell.
There you go. Okay.
And I happen to be a certified coach, trainer, and speaker with his company.
Okay.
So I have the best content to use in order to help individuals or to help organizations or to even help faith-based organizations sometimes to move their culture, to work with the employees, to get them aligned with the
Okay.
mission of the organization
Okay.
and things of that nature. And that
Okay.
requires what? Again, some coaching, some training, and some really talking to the individuals involved with it, in that organization to really find out where they want to be, not where I want to take them.
Right.
Not where I want to take them. So
Right, right.
that's the focus of my
Right.
business.
Okay. Yeah, that's great then. That's definitely great, like you said, because you're dealing with organizations and businesses, and they want to maximize
Yeah.
their production when it comes to their workers, how to communicate with their workers, their product, their image, nonprofit, you name it. And so that's the great thing about working, with the John. Now, real quick, how do people get in contact with you? Whether it's the mentorship part we talk about or the speaking part.
Well, the easiest way to get in contact with me is to call me on the telephone.
Okay.
And I do take calls and I answer calls. A lot of people, these days, people trying to be separated from individuals
Okay.
or aloof. I find the best way to help people is direct contact. You get emails these days, writing. People don't talk to people.
Right.
So I like to
That's
talk to
true.
people.
Right,
So the best
right,
way to get in
right,
contact with me
right.
is call me at 804-617-2640. 804-617-2640. That's my direct telephone number.
Okay. And like you said, how long have you been working with the John Maxwell? How long has it been?
It's a I want to say it. It's a complicated answer, but then I guess it could be simple.
Okay,
The complicated answer is I've been reading John Maxwell information for years and years and
I
years,
got
10
you.
to 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yes.
can I say something about personal development?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the key.
Yes, definitely.
Personal development is always striving to be better. And this is what I know about you as an individual. You're a human being. You want to be, do, and have more. All of us as individuals, we want to be, do, and have more. I don't know you, but I know that about you as a human being.
Right.
That being the case, how do you be? How do you do? How do you have more? You have to get better. And as you get better, if you want to change things in your life, if you want to change your environment, if you want to change the people around you, you have to look inward.
Right.
As you get better, as you change, then the things around you start to change.
That's true.
So don't always look outside of yourself and make excuses for the circumstances or what somebody did for me or what they didn't do for me or what I should have had or what I didn't have or I made a mistake 5 years ago. No, look within yourself right now and decide, hey, I want to be better because, and I know you feel that because you want to be, you want to do, you want to have more. I mean, I know that. So in the area of personal development, as you get better, and I can help you with that.
Right.
I can help your organization with that. As you get better, the things around you start to change as you start to change.
That's true. That's so true. You're right about that. You know, because you really do have to look within first. It's like the man in the mirror whole thing. You really do have to look within
100%.
first. And once you start, like you said, once you start to change, because sometimes it's something once said, when people think about negativity, and it's not making them look like they're a bad person or anything like that, but it's a lot of times it's you draw certain energy or you draw certain things. You can draw negativity around you.
Right.
You know, doesn't mean that you're a bad person, you're a horrible person, but like you said, once you start taking a look and you're saying, okay, when it comes to relationships, it could be even relationships. People always talk about, well, why am I always in a bad relationship?
Right.
Doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but it's just that there's some things you might want to adjust about yourself. You know, be honest with yourself. Be real.
Exactly.
Why are you drawing those people, you know, around you or whatever? Or like you said, when it comes to the journey of being successful, why am I not getting where I need to get with my job, with my business, with my career, or whatever? There's some things you might want to adjust, you know, in yourself. So we're going to wind it down. Man, I really appreciate you. And you can give some people some more information again on how they can get in contact with you.
Okay. We'll give you 2 pieces of information this time. I gave you my phone number last time. That was 804-617-2640. That's my phone number. But if you prefer email, you can email me at Dwayne Bennette. That's my full name, DWAYNEBENNETT at johnmaxwellgroup.com. Dwayne Bennette at johnmaxwellgroup.com.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that. So we're going to be winding down right now, and I'm going to do a little bit of standing on my soapbox real quick because there's something really heavy on my heart. It's kind of deep. I tendency to get serious, but laughing and joking and everything. But like I said before earlier in the day's program, we're talking about healthy, inspiring, positive living.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to emphasize the inspiring, positive part, because Lord knows we can use a lot of inspiration in this day and age. And as we've seen, whether it's politics, whether it's what's going on in our community, negativity is all over the place. And so what I want to impart on you and what I think we need to do more of is to be more inspiring, be positive, be real, but we most definitely need to be more inspiring and more positive, because if you're more inspiring and more positive, you can also be healthy. I can tell you in the work that I do right now as a fitness instructor that, to be totally honest with you, in some cases 90% of it is not necessarily the weight, it's not necessarily the body, it really is the mind.
That's right.
And as my man pointed out here, when you change your mind, when you change this up here, a lot of things will fall in place. A lot of things will really begin to change in your life. And we can do this together. You don't have to do it by yourself. Find you a mentor. Find you somebody. And always realize you got greatness within you. You'd be surprised at what you can achieve and what you can accomplish. And sometimes the way you can turn your life around is by giving.
Yes.
When you give, you receive.
That's right.
So I just want to impart that on you today. And I definitely want to again thank my guest. I can't thank him enough for coming on today's program. And we're going to wind it down. And thank you for tuning in to Healthy, Inspiring, Positive Living. Until next time, stay healthy, stay inspiring, and stay positive.
That's right.
All right, and we're out.